Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the Akim who are tuning into these videos. In this video, I wanted to go into a few precepts going into brotherly love. And this is something that I'm going to read in this precept that we're commanded to do. Really, that is echoed throughout all of the scriptures. This is something that Yahushua is emphasizing to his disciples, because this is something that even in today's times that we're going to have to deal with. And we're not perfect down here in the flesh, but ultimately we have the tools and the direction, as the scriptures going into it, what I'm going to read here, the instructions on how to do these things. So I'm going to read this first precept in John 13:34. It says, "A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have loved one to another." Because this is something that Yahushua emphasized, because in these latter days, that's something that we have to learn and master, to turn the other cheek. But that being said, as you are in this ministry and you are with the Akim, the brothers, and they start acting wayward or something like that, or even pointers in life, like if they are having difficulties with their job, financial situation, or whatever it is, you should be able to help and examine that situation, but also examining yourself. So I'm going to read this in Matthew 7:1. It says, "Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you." So as we are supposed to be judges, not just for the brothers around us, but to ourselves also. I'm going to continue on. Verse 3, it says, "And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye?" So you should also examine yourself before you start correcting another brother. If you do that, then it's perfect. It's how we are instructed to do it. So, but if you don't consider yourself in that predicament or situation, you're being a hypocrite. So I'm going to continue on. Verse 4, it says, "Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye?" So you'd only make it worse. Verse 5, it says, "Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye." So we are about correction in this ministry. We don't shy away from that. That's something that, like, these other various fringe Israelite groups who have branched off from the One West doctrine, they're not cool with that. They come up against us, and they always bring up certain things, but they don't consider the mote in their eye. Or ultimately, they're not brotherly because they don't accept the correction that is in their eye. And we're just trying to help. We're just trying to adhere to what Yahushua said, like I started in this video in John 13:34. But understand too that we're not perfect down here. We're gonna have to turn the other cheek. Sometimes a brother is trying to help you, but they're not doing it a certain way. But just pray to the Lord, give it time. This is something that we were required to do. It's a commandment, ultimately, to rebuke one another. And so you should want to have that mindset to receive that rebuke with all loving kindness, and like to accept it, because ultimately the brothers who are to your left and your right, who are trying to correct you, whatever situation it is, are just attempting to fulfill this order, this commandment that Yahushua laid to us. So I'm going to read this in Ephesians 4:1. It says, "I therefore, the prisoners of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love." So that's something that is required of us to do. We have to be humble. We have to forbear one another, and with all loving kindness to the brothers that are in the left and our right in this ministry. So in the scriptures, when people were going up against Yahushua, they wanted him to speak to his mom or something, but really Yahushua was emphasizing that to his left and to his right, those who are his disciples and his followers are his real family members. So you should want to take care of them. This is a quick precept in Hebrews 13:1. It says, let brotherly love continue. And that's something that we have to do. It is a commandment. We're going to have to forbear brothers. We're going to have to be in a mindset that you want to see them succeed just as much as you want to. And so in those situations that you want that brother to be able and capable in the spirit, making sure he doesn't have any motes in his eyes, because there might come a time where there will be a mote in your eye. And so that's why in his ministry we have to lock in and be a part of this brotherhood. This is Ecclesiastes 4:9. Just get to the full chapter of this one real quick. Let me see. Yeah, so this is Ecclesiastes 4:9. It says, two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. So it is a blessing to have a brother to your left and your right, so that he can make sure that you're making sure that he's doing good, and vice versa. So it's a teamwork effort. And woe to those who don't have a brother to them. As you can see that those people don't adhere to what Yahushua was emphasizing. This other precept I have is in 1 Peter 2:17. It says, honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear Yahweh, honor the king. And it's just like a quick precept to emphasize that, to keep that in your mindset. Now, I have this other precept I forgot to get. It's in Matthew 18. Right, so it's right here. It's in Matthew 18:21. It reads, then came Peter unto him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him till seven times? Because this is something that Yahushua was emphasizing, to be brotherly, to be gracious. That's ultimately what he was doing when he was down here on the scene, because he could have condemned everybody, but ultimately he wanted to help the nation out. And those who understood that, they got on board with it. They knew whatever Yahushua was saying was fact. And part of that was to forbear a brother. There's times where a brother basically, is going off. You still have to forbear him. You still want to see him succeed. And that's what Yahushua was expressing. He wants to see his nation succeed. So as right here in Matthew 18:21, it says, then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me? And I forgive him till 7 times? So Peter was basically saying, how many times do I have to take out the mote out of his eye? He's always going to constantly get it out of in his eye, or whatever the situation it is. And he says, is it 7 times? And after that, you just, give him his papers and you send him off. And in verse 22, it says, Yahushua said unto him, I say not unto thee, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. So this is emphasizing that you're going to constantly have to forbear that brother. And if you're doing it right, and he's receiving the rebuke, then it's not going to be 77 times. It's going to be 5 times at best, at least. But that still is emphasized, that you have to be patient amongst the brothers. But also to understand that brother, whoever is receiving that rebuke, needs to be on the same board, the same page. He needs to be with one accord with the body. Because if he's being adverse and he's doing things that are corrupting the body, then you're supposed to cast it out, obviously. But ultimately, if a brother wants this truth and he's receiving the gospel of Yahushua and he wants to be brotherly, you have to correct him. You have to teach him. How can he learn except someone above him teaches him? And so that's what we were set out here to do, to be shepherds amongst the flock. Because we're all sheep for Yahushua, and we're following him to the kingdom. But we all have to basically stay in line, be brotherly, because we're just part of the same flock. part of the same family. So we want all of us to get to the green pastures. That's what Yahweh Shai is emphasizing here. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rachakodash, Shalom Akim.